Hello everyone, it's UB. Welcome to the morning scan for December 20th, 2018. I'm just looking at the charts now, and we have some action that happened for the few hours that I was away from the computer, so let's jump into it and see what actually happened and what we can possibly expect. I also want to go over our scalp short position yesterday that I think all of the take profits hit. I think actually 2 out of the 3, and then I manually closed, but regardless, I want to go over that trade because I was pretty happy with it, and I think it will be a good learning experience. But first off here, I did mention this possible new trading range in yesterday's morning scan video, and it looks like it's working out very well. I didn't necessarily get the deeper pullback that I wanted before it popped here, but what am I expecting for the end of the week? I really don't see why around 4,400 would be a bad target by the end of the week. And just based on the volume, right? Obviously, the buy volume is not slowing down at all. This is the most 4-hour volume candle we have had since November 24th. So nearly 1 month of this low volume, and then we see a huge volume spike. Plus, we see the volume increasing substantially, right? All the buy volume is increasing substantially. So really, this would be shorting into strength right now if it's a short swing trade position. If you're just scalp shorting, it's completely fine. It doesn't really matter because at that point you're just targeting like 1 to 2%. So it doesn't really matter. But in terms of a swing trade, I would not take a swing trade short in my opinion, just because this is pure strength right here. You really can't deny that this is strength. So I'm looking at the 4,400 area for a few different reasons. Firstly, it's because of this high traffic area here. It's because of these highs here that were taken here. So in my opinion, we can assume that this is going to be heavily defended, right? And we have our range high, we have these highs, and then this high volume area here. Okay, so in my opinion, this is going to be heavily defended. So I think the top of this run will be 4,400. And I can go over to the higher time frames and show you guys some more confluent areas. But really, if it smashes through 4,400 and the weekly closes above there, that would be very significant. And that would be very significant for a few reasons. Well, I mean, I'm going to go over the more areas of resistance. But if it does close above 4,400, the weekly at least, look at this gap. So we saw a similar gap on Bitcoin Cash, which I'm going to go over as well. Basically, it's just like a downtrend that there's really no effort to even fight back the downtrend. It's just basically straight selling for maybe 1 day, maybe even longer. I'm not sure. But so this is technically a gap, right? And the theory with gaps is that they will get filled. The majority of them get filled, of course, given the correct market conditions and stuff like that. So we can take a look at Bitcoin Cash and you can understand what I mean by that. So I just took a fresh Bitcoin Cash chart, and here's the same exact downtrend, right? This thing bled out for, geez, that was rough, 24%, maybe even more, with essentially no effort to establish an area of support, obviously, until right here. And look what we're seeing. Wow, this is really pumping, huh? But look what we're seeing. So we had this gap here on the way down. Jeez. We had this gap on the way down here, right? And now look what price did. So we established a bottom. Nice rounded bottom. And then eventually we filled half of the gap here. And then it stalled for a little bit, and then we filled the other half of the gap here. So now as far as I'm concerned, all of the gaps, or not all of the gaps, but the large gap on this chart has been filled. So now I'm looking for short opportunities for this. But at the same time, this would be shorting into strength as well. So I'm a little bit more cautious with shorting Bitcoin Cash at this time for that reason. So that's just a good visual example that I wanted to give. Hopefully that helped you out. and why I'm targeting 4,400. And let's go to the daily, why not, just so you can get a better idea of 4,400. So if you guys remember, I mean, you should remember this daily range. This is the daily range that I've been using for a very long time now, for a month actually, nearly a month. But my range high is about 33.8 or 43.83. Okay, so that's confluent also. And we have the double top here, we have taking the stops here and then down. So that's my range high on the daily, which is significant. Also a significant level is 4,300, which I believe is my range high on this chart. Am I right? Yeah. So that's also going to be significant, you know, to just smash through there. And maybe an SFP at 4,400, that would be nice to see, but we will take it how it goes. And then on the weekly level, 4,400 is a weekly high right here. So just different levels I'm watching. And in terms of that gap, right, look at this. Look at this weekly gap. So same idea, right? Given the current market conditions, we can kind of assume that that gap is going to get filled, right? So if we get a weekly close above 4,400, I would be targeting, oh wow, 6,300. Maybe that's a little absurd, but I would be targeting some sort of a gap fill, in my opinion. Maybe to up here, so close half of the gap. I don't think we get anywhere near 6K for a very long time, or 5.8 for a very long time, but I don't see why we can't fill half of that gap, right? If we close above 4,400. But yep, so that's what I'm looking at on the weekly, and that's why the 4,400, that voice crack, that's why the 4,400 level is important to me. And Ethereum, this is frustrating to see, but if you watched yesterday's morning scan video, I mentioned that longing Ethereum at 98 would be a no-brainer, and it got to 98.3, and I didn't long it, which is fine. You know, I really don't care. I'm one of those people that I just see opportunities if I miss something, right? So obviously I missed this pump. Take profit 1, 2 of 3 would have hit. If you watch the video, I put out the take profits as well. But regardless, I just see more opportunity, and I'm really fine with quote-unquote missing a trade. It doesn't really matter to me. There's plenty of opportunities in this market, so just got to move on. And lastly, I want to go over this scalp short. I really think it's an awesome learning opportunity, so let's go through it here. Let's figure out, I'm just on Discord here. I want to figure out, okay. Perfect. So it all started here. So this is my high time frame range. I said a bounce here would be nice to fill our asks. So we did indeed bounce there. And I also mentioned Bitcoin Cash, the gap fill, and why it would be perfect to short at 420, which is what we're at now, 427, but it is showing clear signs of strength. So anyway, and we saw the bounce there. So let's move over to around this time. Okay, so that was just after the first bounce at red. Okay. Okay, so we are right here right now. Here, right after this candle. Yeah. So we're right here, I believe. So I said a bounce at red would be good because we could fill our asks, which were laddered right here. Okay, so I should probably go over why I laddered the asks there. And that's just because I noticed this range on the 15-minute chart, right? So my range low has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 touches. So if you're not familiar for my ranges, I try to go for as many candle touches as I can, either wicks or bodies. So this was a good range low and a strong range low, strong area of support. So my range high had 1, 2, 3, 4 touches. So that was a decent range high, not as strong as the range low. Okay, so of course, when something dumps through a support level, it will become resistance on the way up. But regardless, what I noticed here was price came down, and then we have a 15-minute order block. And all that essentially is a down move candle before the up move. So I noticed this order block. I included the bottom of this wick and the bottom of the candle bodies. It popped up, bounced off of this order block. So right here, as far as I'm concerned, this order block is confirmed. Okay, so it bounced off of that order block and then dumped straight through. So this was my signal to place our asks in this order block. Okay, so after it dumped straight through, I remember we place our asks, right? Place the asks now. Okay, so we placed those. And now in my head, because I know how strong this support or this resistance was on the way up, how strong the support was when price broke above it, in my head I'm assuming that this is going to be a tough resistance to get through now back on the way up. Okay, so it dumped through, right, and bounced that red. So how I came up with red is I used my friend Trader XO's open, high, low script, and what this does is just place the daily opens on your chart. The daily open, the daily low, and the daily high on your chart. And if you don't know already, the daily open, low, and high is a pretty decent range to scalp throughout the day. So I was targeting the daily open because of these lows here, and then I turned on the script, and I noticed that the daily open was right below those lows, so I thought it was a pretty decent take profit point. Okay, so at this point in time, we saw price dump right through our take profits, but we didn't get filled here. Our asks were 742, 748, and 751, so we were unfilled here. Price filled all of our take profits, bounced again. So what's notable about this bounce is we see the low of this candle. Where's the little candle flag? Price label, I mean. Okay. So we have 36.50 there. And then this low is 36.54. Okay. So this is notable because it's a higher low, which caught my attention. At this point, I wanted to cancel the asks, but it was still an untested area. So I thought, why not risk it and take the risk because it is still an untested area of resistance. So I kept the asks there. From this bounce, we got filled, which, like I just mentioned, I was a little bit concerned about, but then I took a look at the volume and it's really nothing impressive. So I started to feel more confident in that position. Okay, so we got rejected, which was good, but really the volume was still lacking regardless of the rejection. And then we bounced back up. I got a little bit concerned here, but this was a nice 15-minute close. And if we also look at the hourly close, from what I remember, it was also a very ugly hourly close. Yeah, right here. Or no, right here. We got filled on this hourly, and this was the retest. So clearly long upper wicks, clearly the bears were in control at that point in time. Okay, so we are here, retested, and then we get a large sell-off. So now I felt pretty good in the position. I ended up moving the stop down multiple times, but after this candle, I remember I moved the stop down. We kind of retested, not really. We didn't make it up to the blue box, so this was a trade in the bank as far as I was concerned. So we got rejected, hit take profit 1, which was 714, take profit 2, which was 689, and then our take profit 3 was 667, and the low for this candle was a few dollars off of our take profit, but that's not really the point. The point is, look at where it bounced, right at the top of my red box. And that's significant because you have the bodies of the candles here, so this is going to act as support. and you also have a third high or a second higher low. So we have our original low, higher low, and now we have another higher low. So that is automatically concerning. That made me feel very, very concerned for our position. I let it ride until about here. I think on this candle. Yeah, I let it ride until about here just to see if we would see one more push down. But this candle is what made me manually close it at 697. Yeah, 697. And it's because we have a clear rejection candle here, right? But look at the volume. Very, very poor volume. And then the follow-up candle to this rejection candle wasn't significant, right? We actually had less sell volume than right here, or volume in general than right here. So this really set off the alarms and got me very, very uncomfortable in the position. So this is where I manually closed it. I accepted defeat, but really I didn't. I mean, plus 1.3% for the third take profit honestly isn't that bad. I was pretty happy with that. So yes, so that's what made me concerned in the position. That's where I closed. And ultimately why I was concerned is, of course, the two higher lows, right? Low, higher low, higher low, and then the double top here. So a few people asked me why this double top was significant, and that's significant because price is attracted to the areas with the most amount of liquidity that is the easiest place to get to. Okay, ow, it just hit my knee. So at that point I had an X right here, and that was just signaling that there's going to be liquidity up here. So you may be asking yourself, why is the near double bottom not a target for price to go? And it is, but clearly there is demand below red, and even right at the top of red. So that gives the impression that price is not getting through there without a significant fight, which means that it's not the easiest place to get to for the most amount of liquidity. So because there was two higher lows, because of the long lower wicks and all of that, I automatically assumed that price would hit this double top here and go for that liquidity, which obviously we saw the bounce, and I was right in thinking that. But I was not right in thinking that the move up would be just to get this liquidity, because obviously we just pumped directly through. When you're trying to figure out if the move up was just, or move up or move down, whatever kind of move was just for liquidity, you want to look at the wicks and the overall volume. So right here, these candles were obviously moves for liquidity, right, because of the long lower wicks and the clear demand there. This pump was obviously not a move for liquidity because you didn't get a long upper wick like you got here. So let's say if price was moving up, price was moving up, pump directly through here, which it did, and then you got a long lower wick here and then a rejection. That's a move for liquidity, and that would be a short signal. Okay, so I hope that helped. I think I got a little long-winded, and this video is pretty long now, but I really wanted to explain that. I think it's such a good learning opportunity, so I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you took that trade because it was pretty fun. I do really, really enjoy scalping, and if you have any other questions, please feel free to ask.